Let's get this party started.
Coverage tight, spotlight on tomorrow. Who you with? Trust, you'll be delighted that you followed. At Phirst Contention, the invention. We debate sports, of course we should mention. What's that? We cover games, we don't play suspensions. We 100, so if your star's missing, we let you know your squad surely gone fishing. We never fish though, no, not our motto. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contention.
I said, hola, senors and senoritas. Welcome to another episode of Phirst Contention. I'm your boy, Marvin S. Banks. We was gone last week. We was at the NFL Combine. Video coming real soon. But before we get started, let me introduce my esteemed colleague, Mr. T.Y. Sosina.
Salutations, everyone. Welcome back. Nice little vacation, but you know, we was getting it in. We'll just say that. Third member of our crew getting it in, Steven Davis. What's up, sir? It's been a couple weeks for you.
Yes. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Coming all the way from Indianapolis in the Combine. I am back to the set to have some fun with my brothers, to have some fun with the Phirst Contention fans. We sports. We're striving higher every day here at Shed's Block, but let's get it, fellas.
All right, thank you, sir. Since we've been gone, NBA trade deadline came and went. Quite a few interesting and eye-popping trades. I mean, let's touch on some of the trades that really sparked your interest in the association there.
Man, boy, oh boy, the Phoenix kind of just dismantled their team. I mean, they was point guard heavy before, and now it kind of seems like there's no point guards on the team. With Dragic going over to Miami, then you got Isaiah Thomas going over to Boston, but bringing in Brandon Knight. You have Oklahoma City just getting everything. We need a whole new bench, so we gonna get it, a whole new bench. So just a lot of trades. The Rookie of the Year going to Milwaukee, a lot of movements. They said over 8% of the NBA was traded this past weekend, and it was just a lot of good stuff. Very interesting after they said it was going to be a very quiet NBA trade deadline.
Agreed. I mean, you touched on Oklahoma City. I think they made some of the most important moves. Phoenix was in that 8th spot, and it was important for them to pass up, and so I think this pretty much seals it. OKC has a very, very legitimate chance now of getting into the playoffs, even with Durant sidelined with Russell Westbrook playing the way he's playing. Phoenix, man, they are hurting. It's very interesting to see how Dragic wanted to go to Boston, LA, or Miami, of all teams. And especially, unfortunately, with what happened with Chris Bosh, he'll miss the rest of the seasons because of what's going on.
Blood clot in his lungs, blood clot in his lungs. And I mean, that team, it could have been a very dangerous and very scary team when you think about that starting five and that starting lineup and everything with Dragic, Wade, Dang, Whiteside, and also with Bosh. But now with Bosh being out, you have to see if they can give maybe these first-round teams maybe a run for the money. But what are the Sixers doing? I know they were tanking. I know that they are trying to gain more assets, but all they have is a bunch of big men right now, and they don't have no guard play. This is a guard-driven league. You trade away your Rookie of the Year, even though you're not very high on him, but it's still a player that can probably develop into a very good to maybe great player for you a little bit down the road. Now he's going to Milwaukee, my hometown team, work with Jason Kidd, a bigger point guard when he played, just like Michael Carter-Williams, a big 6'6" point guard. So that experience might be what the doctor needed for MCW moving forward, though.
I mean, you talk about, what they got going on. The Knicks, they already unloaded J.R. Smith. Woo. And JR responded by unloading on them over the weekend. Woo. But wasn't much left for them to do. I mean, at this point, it's all about losing for the rest of the way to improve in the future. We do shoot Minnesota, so let's show some love to the Timberwolves. Big ticket coming back, Kevin Garnett with the Wolves. You won't see too much in the win column, I believe, but again, a young team. The Rookie of the Year for this season, Andrew Wiggins. And so it's important for them to have a man who's been there, done that in KG, and more importantly, need to get some people back into the Target Center to pay to watch these guys. So I think
he's an ambassador. He's an ambassador
Absolutely.
for the Timberwolves. So whenever you can get someone like that, and KG said in his press conference, if LeBron can do it, bleep, then why not me? So let's start over Shed. Shed, what's going on with your Knicks? What's up with KG? What do you think about the trade deadline?
So as you know, NBA trade deadline was crazy this year. I think there were a total of 36 players that were moved to different teams. And that has been, I think, the most in NBA history for a trade deadline. I mean, at least in recent years, it's been crazy. Obviously, we're talking about winners. You know, Miami, they got Goran Dragic. I don't know what Philadelphia is doing by getting rid of, Michael Carter-Williams. But, I don't know, man. It's a lot of good stuff that's been out there. OKC, they got rid of Reggie Jackson, but they got Enes Kanter, and so far that's turned out to be a good move. They also got DJ Augustine as a backup point guard. That's a pretty decent move for them as well to kind of make a deep run into the playoffs. Some of these teams are kind of shaping out and doing different things. But I want to really just kind of talk about one team in particular. We're here in Minnesota, so let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. KG coming back to the place where it all started for him. Back here at, the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's coming back to play with the team. We don't know if he'll play again next year, but for right now, he's here as a leader, as a mentor for the young squad that they have with Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine, Shabazz Muhammad, Ricky Rubio, Gorgui Dieng. I mean, the numbers are endless right now as far as the youth on this team. And they need some type of guidance. And this is just a perfect storybook ending for his career. Not only that, we can just kind of talk about the future of the franchise. I've kind of talked to a number of different people in Minnesota and just kind of talking about the Timberwolves in general. A lot of people are just kind of like, well, I can't really put too much faith into the Timberwolves and the growth of that because we've heard that before. Ever since KG left, they were talking about Kevin Love, they were talking about Ricky Rubio, and none of that has really ever panned out for them. They haven't made the playoffs since KG left. KG's back now. I don't know if that kind of changes the situation, but to think about it, I think they have a bright future just because of the youth that they have and the actual talent that they have as well. You got Andrew Wiggins, who's been getting better almost every game this year. Hands down going to be the Rookie of the Year. But then you have Zach LaVine. He's been dunking all over the place, as you saw in the NBA dunk contest. But at the same time, this guy has some skills. He can kind of progress to be a game type of, game changer. Looking at him compared to Russell Westbrook, I see a lot of similarities. I just don't see the dog in him yet. But I think that will come, especially with some mentorship from KG. Then you got Shabazz Muhammad. He just gets it done, man. I've been to a couple games, and I've just been impressed by the way he plays, simply for the fact that he just goes hard. He gets a rebound over 7-foot guys, and then he's backing guys down in the post. He's knocking down jump shots. The dude's a scorer. And that you can't have too many of those on your team. Obviously, they still got Kevin Martin, but down the line, he probably won't be a part of the team. But if you kind of look at that core with Ricky Rubio, with Gorgui Dieng, that is a great nucleus to kind of build around. And the way I see them is kind of reminds me a little bit of Oklahoma, simply for the fact because they built their team up from the draft. They had Kevin Durant, then they had Russell Westbrook, then they had James Harden, and as you saw that, the team got better and better and better each year. It didn't start out great. They didn't make the playoffs the first couple years. But once they started to, get their stride and kind of learn their roles and what they need to do, they're just a force to be reckoned with now. And I kind of see that, playing out very similar for the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially if KG is here to kind of give these guys a little bit of guidance, a little bit of confidence. Andrew Wiggins gets the dog in him. He adds a little bit more weight. There's no telling how good this team will be. But I'll tell you this. My prediction in 2 years, these guys will be a force to be reckoned with. They'll be probably making the playoffs. They'll be a team that, you can really kind of look at and say, all right, this team's going to actually go somewhere in the future. So Minnesota, keep your head up. You got a bright future. Glad to see KG is back, and let's see how this plays out for the rest of these few years with Andrew Wiggins and the rest of their core.
Appreciate it, Shed. Now, let's get to the fight that everyone has been waiting for. It is finally here. May 2nd, Mayweather-Pacquiao in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Ty, is it too little too late or just in time?
Of course, it's too little too late. What did Drake say? Better late than never, but never late is better. We're going to pay to see this match. You know, again, 36 and 38. When the news came out, what were you thinking? I was shocked. We talked about this in the past. And is this really going to happen? It's been part of the intrigue, whether or not this would really, really take place. And now we finally get to see one of the, again, the luster isn't there, but we got to settle the score. Money Team, Pac-Man, which one reigns supreme, you know, in the end?
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at this fight. This particular fight has a chance to make probably $500 million. If you think about the pay-per-view match, that's probably going for $100 and over 3 to 4 million people watching this fight. And plus what they're getting from this deal, they can make $500 million off of this fight. But this is probably going to go down as the fight of the decade. But I would love to see it as Ali and Frazier part 1, 2, and 3. And now with the Money Team only having 2 more fights left, it's kind of hard to say if he's going to have a rematch after this. Is this the end of the line for both fighters? Are they both going to retire after this? I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm still going to watch the fight.
Absolutely.
I'm still going to watch the fight. Pacquiao opens up as a slight underdog, but it still has the same luster to it, though. It still has the same, I don't want to, but I guess I got to anyway.
I think it's just the names. We need to see it. We've been waiting for it. While it is a little late, we need to see this match. Again, it's going to generate so much money, and that is probably part of what helped push them into the direction to actually have the fight. But based on their ages, you talk about, Ali Frazier 1, 2, and 3. It really leaves not a lot of room for a number 2, even a number 3.
Definitely not a number 3.
And after seeing number 1, would number 2 and 3 even be a match that we would want to watch?
It depends. I mean, it's definitely a contrast of style when you're talking about Pac-Man and Mayweather. Mayweather is the defensive specialist. He's the wizard. He's the guru. Nobody's getting past his shoulder as he leans back. But when you think about Pac-Man, the ultra aggressive, the one that's going to continue to rush and continue to move forward, and we see who is going to reign supreme from that. But like you said, it's all about the economy. It's all about dollars. But
if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Exactly so. But I know one person who wants to chime in on this. My man Shed's block. Shed, what do you think about Pac-Man Mayweather part 1? Will there be a part 2, part 3? But thoughts?
Yes, about time, right? Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. Man, we've been hearing about this for I don't know how long. But it's finally here. It's finally happening. In May, we have Mayweather versus Pacquiao. There's no more excuses. There's no more, this guy's going to talk this guy's not going to back it up. We're just going to have to see it all. I mean, Pacquiao may be past his prime. Mayweather still has not lost a fight. Who's to say this fight will be as good as we thought it would be? It would have been maybe a couple years ago when they were actually both in their prime, but it's still a big matchup if you look at it. I mean, this is one of the biggest matchups in boxing history just because of the hype that's been built around it. So we're really looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. Just kind of getting this over with. Let the boxing match kind of speak for itself, and whoever comes out on top, we can kind of shut the door on that, and maybe this is the last fight that we see from Mayweather. Who knows if he comes out on top? But I don't know. I can't really pick the side right now just because I've been waiting on this for so long that I've kind of gotten over it. So whoever wins, but I'm just happy that it's finally getting over with. So. Yeah, back to you.
Appreciate it, Shed. Well, let's go to something else. The Big Ten and some of the other NCAA members probably going to come up with a decision saying that should freshmen compete in football or basketball, or should they sit their freshman year? Ty, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I know when I first heard about this, it seemed like the Big Ten was really leading the charge. And when it comes to recruiting, it's not going to sit too well with your big money sports. Now, if this is going to be across the board in the NCAA, at least every single school will be affected. I mean, one thing you got to do is keep it fair across the board. But again, it's going to limit, these players, especially these 5-star, these 4-star players from playing. But there's an out in basketball, because if I'm a phenom, I'm just going to go overseas to Europe. I'm going to go somewhere I can play and get paid for a year, in juxtaposition to the NCAA, and then just come back for the pros, after that season abroad.
I understand why the NCAA is trying to do this. They're trying to keep some of their student athletes in college a little bit more, but the way that they're going about it is all wrong. I cannot understand why you would do this to your big money sports. And you alluded to a great point. If I'm someone that's playing basketball and I got to stay in college for 1 year, Brandon Jennings, Emmanuel Mudiay, I'm going across the seas. I'm going to play in somewhere else where I can make money for that first year before returning back to the NBA. And as I was listening to ESPN and listening to other analysts, especially Jay Billis, he brought up a very great point. Why is it only basketball and football where the freshmen have to sit and not across the board? What is the common theme and the common denominator? African-American athletes that predominantly run those two sports. So it brings in another situation to say it doesn't give a young person an opportunity to play and showcase their skills. When you think about Lou Cinder, when he was a freshman playing for the freshman team in UCLA and dominating folks, that's where the rule occurred from. The Fab Five, we would never hear about them. It's just a lot of uncertainty, and I feel like it's going in the wrong direction too as well.
And when we talk about the NCAA, what does it boil down to them as well? Money. It's a lot of hypocrisy when we're talking about the NCAA. So essentially, they just want to keep these players who have really, really strong brands around longer, while March Madness drives itself. It's March Madness. But imagine if you can add to that the anticipation of 4 or 5-star All-American McDonald's player, of really anticipating seeing him in a tournament, it adds some luster, especially to college basketball, which everyone won and they're gone, and people feel like they can't get that chemistry, and you can't really get the really great teams that we've seen in the past.
It's a touchy situation. I see why the NCAA is doing it, but I still feel like it's a terrible rule and terrible idea for them to do so. Like you said, if I'm someone that's playing basketball, why even go to college? If I'm guaranteed to be a top pick, if I'm Jahlil Okafor, or if I'm Stanley Johnson, or if I'm some of the other Carl Towns, some of these other freshman phenoms, I'm going across the seas. If I have to sit out my freshman year, I'm going across the seas. And it's really going to be a disgrace, because some of the best basketball teams have had freshmen on those teams, that has had the social impact. So definitely interesting.
It's hard on the ears, but it is what it is. I mean, a lot of these players, especially when they have the talent to go to the pros, they're not going to sit around and wait even longer to get there. Speaking of the pros,
you ready?
The NFL will unveil their latest pros. Obviously, we just had the combine in Indianapolis.
Exactly.
And your thoughts? I mean, the Underwear Olympics. People wait for this. People turn on their TVs all day and watch it. This. I'm not sure which one's better, the Victoria's Secret one or the NFL Combine itself.
Well, Ty, first and foremost, let me tell you that the Victoria's Secret one is definitely better. So let's throw that one out there right there. But something interesting about that was to see how Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota went at it. They actually competed, and they actually looked good throwing. Granted, it was nobody in their face. They didn't have any pass or anything like that. But the way that the ball was coming out, it looked very fluid. It looked like they was been practicing, and it looked great for them to compete against one another. Now for that Winston 40 time, on the other hand, it was he's not a track sprinter, we can say that. Last 40 of his career ever, so very interesting to see that 40 time, Ty. Very interesting.
Personally, when we talk about the combine, I just think it's so overblown. basically, there's a difference between being a workout warrior and a legitimate football player.
Exactly.
The combine has swayed a lot of professional teams to draft the person who can bench press the most, the person who can run the fastest, Raiders especially. I mean, so we need to go back and just look at the film. What do they put on tape? Sometimes that can be deceiving, but don't limit yourself to just a workout. Don't let that combine really intervene in your draft strategy and have that person jump to the top when you have some tape on someone who's put some really, really great games out there.
You know, but it also gives a chance for the NFL teams to do the interviews and talk to players and find out some of their backstories. One of the interesting backstories from this past combine was my man Josh Shaw from USC. And, you know, allegedly he was saving his nephew from drowning, but when the reports came out, he was actually fleeing from the police. Another one, exactly.
Well then.
Yeah, then there's other backstories about, you know, people that were charged again, kicked off the team. Somebody like Marcus Peters from the University of Washington, one of the top cornerbacks. And to hear their backstories, Jameis Winston, are you an idiot or are you just immature? Which one? And they want to hear straight from the horse's mouth. So it gives NFL teams the opportunity to sit down and talk to those players one-on-one too as well.
Now that's all fine and dandy, and I see value in that.
Exactly.
Now, don't be swayed. Last year, remember this man, Johnny Manziel, we talk about the Browns a lot. He delivered, you know, some excellent interviews at the Combine. Told me, hey, I'm going to change the way I am. You know, I'm going to focus on football. And then, long story short, we see where he's at now. So while a lot of these players can be coached up on the field, they can be coached for interviews as well, especially when you allot all this time to prepare for the Combine. Again, don't be fooled by what's presented to you at the Combine.
I mean, no disagreement there. It was definitely grand larceny, and it was a lot of. It's been a lot of people that have committed grand larceny. My man Vernon Golston was definitely one of them. He went to the NFL Combine, worked out very well. I believe top 6 pick by the Jets. All he needed was 1 sack to reach his bonus and ended up not getting that sack for 4 years. So with that being said, you know, you can sway someone's opinion. You can get a couple of coins in your pocket moving up, but hey, that's what you're supposed to do when you go to the Combine. You're supposed to run that fast 40, jump, get that vert, get that broad jump. And you're supposed to do that. So.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of swaying, we did go to the Combine, and we do have a few athletes who may have swayed some scouts out there. Here's a look at what happened at the Combine in Indianapolis last week.
Steve Davis, Minnesota. Go Gophers!
Well, looking here at Steve Davis, here from University of Minnesota, D-line, trying to make that transition to linebacker. Ty, what you think?
I mean, you know, it's turned into a passing league, so I like the fact that he's a hybrid type. He can put his hand down in a 3-point stance or stand up in a 2-point stance. And so it's important to see, obviously, captain of his football team.
Exactly.
So you like the intangibles.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely love the intangibles, but there are some red flags in his past, though. There are some red flags that are bringing up. For one, he's married, so we don't know if football is really his passion or not.
Yes, and we know his wife likes to reel in the ring. So, yes, can he focus on the game? It's very important.
And there's also that one big concern.
Oh, the sources do say.
That he was in the last tip drill video with Nelly himself, the one that was sliding the car down. So we don't know if we can trust him with money moving forward, Ty.
Proud member from Missouri. Perhaps he represented a little too hard, Marvin.
Exactly so. But let's throw it over. Let's move on to our next competitor.
Ty Sosina, U Chapter Trays.
Right now we have a number 3 quarterback, Ty Sosina.
Oh yes, and this guy, he's an athlete. He's a quarterback. He's
a little bit of everything, coming from the D4 school over there. From
D4.
D4.
Wow. He's representing for his city.
You know,
Chicago, Illinois. You better stand up for this young man because he might go some places, but they might not be what you expect.
You know, most draft experts have him going as a quarterback, but they're trying to convert him to a corner. What do you think about the transition?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if you look at this guy, he's looking like Peyton Manning lost his eyesight.
But still, I don't know. Maybe just Convert him to an athlete. We'll go with athlete, per
Yeah.
se.
I mean, that's what we do with all black quarterbacks anyway, right?
Yeah, just convert him to an athlete. He'll be fine.
He'll be all right.
He'll be perfectly good.
Put him in the backfield, let him run around, make him tackle somebody. You know, that's what all athletes do anyway, right?
Pretty much. Well, let's go on to the running back section. Marvin Banks, Ball So Hard University, Riverside High.
And now we have Marvin Banks from. Now I'm not sure if this is accredited or not, but Ball So Hard
Ball
University.
So Hard University?
I mean, have you seen or been there?
In Milwaukee, though?
I mean, you know, Milwaukee's a little different. One thing's for sure, a 4.40. That's got to be a typo.
4.44? It has to be a typo.
I mean, all scouts agree that he's more so the plodding type. He'll get you 4 yards in a cloud of dust.
4 yards.
Matter of fact, he
That's
finished
good,
a
good.
whole season with only 444 yards rushing.
444 yards rushing. That is right. And if you look at this guy's mechanics, you know, he has straight ahead, narrow down. He just go downhill. He's a downhill type of running back. I don't see him getting a lot of shifty plays. Don't see him in the spread. As you can see, his pass catching skills are not that great.
It's a passing league, and he's going to need to be a dual threat running back. It's obvious that this is a goal line situational back.
Ball So Hard University.
Shut up, Marvin.
Very good, very good. I don't know. I know Steve played football and everything, but looking from that footage, I think we could have overtaken him, Ty. I think we could have taken him.
I'm just saying I look like a franchise player. That's all I'm saying.
His 40 time wasn't
face of a franchise.
I heard his 40 time was 4.5, 4 days and 5 hours. But you know, it is what it is, though.
That's all we have for this show. Again, appreciate you for watching. But before we're done here, don't forget, like the video, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
For Marvin Banks, my man over there in Shed's Block, and for Mr. Ty Sosina, signing off.
Trays up.